For more than 4 decades, Natalie Wood's death was officially labelled an accident, a tragic fall into dark water during a holiday weekend. That explanation settled easily into headlines, but it never settled in the minds of those who looked closely. Natalie was not just a movie star, she was Hollywood royalty, a woman whose face carried decades of shared memory. When her body was found off Catalina Island in November 1981, dressed for warmth rather than swimming, the story immediately felt wrong. Over time, forgotten witness statements, delayed emergency calls, and inconsistencies in official accounts slowly resurfaced. What emerged was not a neat conspiracy, but something quieter and more disturbing. A story shaped by fear, power, alcohol, and silence. This is not about proving guilt where courts have not. It is about understanding why the truth surrounding Natalie Wood has always felt incomplete. A star before she could choose. Natalie Wood was born Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko on July 20, 1938, into a family that believed success was survival. From the time she was a toddler, cameras shaped her world. Hollywood embraced her early, but childhood disappeared just as quickly. Long hours, constant scrutiny, and adult expectations became normal before she fully understood them. Natalie learned discipline, professionalism, and emotional restraint long before she learned freedom. To the public, she appeared confident and luminous. But behind the scenes, she carried exhaustion and pressure that never truly lifted. As she transitioned from child star to teenage icon, the industry demanded maturity without offering protection. Success came fast, but safety never did. These early years formed a woman who appeared strong, yet remained deeply sensitive. Someone who learned to perform through discomfort and keep private pain hidden behind a polished smile. Becoming an icon at a cost. By her mid-teens, Natalie Wood was no longer just famous. She was symbolic. Rebel without a cause transformed her into the emotional center of a generation, earning her critical acclaim and lifelong recognition. Yet the praise masked a deeper reality. Hollywood blurred boundaries, offering admiration while quietly normalizing imbalance and control. Natalie was praised for emotional depth, even as she struggled to process experiences she was too young to understand. Fame rewarded her silence and reliability, not her vulnerability. As roles grew more complex, so did the expectations placed on her. She learned that speaking up risked everything she had built. This environment shaped her adult life, teaching her that harmony mattered more than confrontation. The woman audiences adored was real, but so was the cost of maintaining that image in an industry that rarely asked what its stars needed to survive. Love, marriage, and unequal power. Natalie Wood believed deeply in love and permanence. Her marriage to Robert Wagner in the late 1950s looked like a fairy tale, admired by fans and magazines alike. But relationships under public pressure rarely remain simple. Career imbalance, jealousy, and emotional distance slowly eroded the illusion. Their first divorce left lasting wounds, and although they later reunited and remarried, those close to them described ongoing tension. Natalie sought stability, while Wagner struggled with insecurity, and arguments were not uncommon. By the late 1970s, Natalie had stepped back from acting, prioritizing family life, though restlessness lingered. When she returned to work on the film Brainstorm, new creative energy entered her life, along with renewed friction at home. What looked like domestic normalcy concealed unresolved strain, the kind that builds quietly until a moment exposes everything. Thanksgiving weekend on the water. The Thanksgiving trip aboard the yacht Splendor was meant to be restorative, a brief escape from schedules and scrutiny. Instead, it placed 4 people in isolation, rough weather, and heavy drinking. The decision to anchor away from populated areas limited visibility and access to immediate help. Witnesses later described the group as intoxicated that evening, and accounts suggest arguments followed them back to the boat. At some point, Natalie disappeared. Hours passed before authorities were notified, a delay that remains one of the most troubling aspects of the case. When her body was discovered, the scene raised questions no simple explanation could resolve. Clothing choices, distance from the yacht, and the location of the dinghy all conflicted with the idea of an accidental slip. Even then, the official response moved quickly toward closure rather than clarity. Voices that refused to fade. For years, the case rested quietly, but doubts never disappeared. Natalie's sister, Lana Wood, continued to speak publicly, insisting that her sister's lifelong fear of dark water made the official story implausible. Others who were nearby that night later described hearing a woman calling for help, followed by silence. Captain Dennis Davern eventually stated that he had witnessed a heated argument and felt discouraged from calling for assistance immediately. His later accounts, though debated, added urgency to long-standing concerns. These voices did not claim certainty, but they challenged complacency. Their persistence eventually prompted renewed attention from authorities. What kept the story alive was not scandal, but the sense that critical moments had been ignored. The truth, whatever it was, had never been fully pursued when time mattered most. The case reopened and reframed. In 2011, investigators formally reopened the case, acknowledging that earlier conclusions did not address all available information. A year later, the coroner amended Natalie Wood's death certificate, changing the cause from accidental drowning to drowning with undetermined factors. This shift did not assign blame, but it confirmed uncertainty. Investigators noted injuries that could not be conclusively explained by a fall alone, and emphasized the significance of delayed emergency response. In 2018, authorities identified Robert Wagner as a person of interest, a legal designation that does not imply guilt, but signals unresolved questions. Wagner declined further interviews, while Christopher Walken offered limited speculation without definitive claims. The investigation remains open-ended, not because answers are obvious, but because earlier assumptions proved insufficient. Fear, silence, and a life lived carefully. Understanding Natalie Wood's death requires understanding the emotional architecture of her life. Those close to her described a woman deeply sensitive to control and vulnerability. She carried a pronounced fear of deep, dark water, something she spoke about often. That fear symbolized more than drowning. It reflected loss of agency and voice. Natalie spent her career navigating environments where silence was rewarded and resistance punished. She learned to endure, to smooth conflict, and to protect others, even when it cost her peace. This pattern shaped her relationships and her reactions under stress. Whether or not her final moments involved confrontation, panic, or confusion, what haunts many is the possibility that fear silenced her again. The echoes of her life suggest someone who endured more than she was ever allowed to express. What the mystery truly reveals: the unresolved nature of Natalie Wood's death is painful, not because it hides a sensational secret, but because it exposes systemic failures. Alcohol, isolation, delayed action, and power dynamics created conditions where tragedy could unfold unchecked. No conclusion can restore what was lost, but the ongoing questions challenge how easily uncomfortable truths are dismissed. Natalie's story is not just about a single night. It is about decades of expectation, silence, and imbalance. The investigation's uncertainty mirrors the life she lived, one where clarity was often postponed in favor of appearances. Her legacy now includes not only her films, but the reminder that accountability matters. especially when someone's voice is missing from the final narrative. Remembering Natalie beyond the mystery. Natalie Wood remains unforgettable because she was real, vulnerable, and deeply human beneath the glamour. Her performances endure because they carried authenticity born from lived experience. While the full truth of her final night may never be known, what is clear is that her life deserved more care than it was given. Remembering Natalie means honoring both her brilliance and the lessons her story leaves behind. It asks us to listen when stories feel incomplete, to question silence, and to protect those whose voices are easiest to overlook. Natalie Wood was more than a tragedy. She was a woman who gave the world beauty, emotion, and honesty. That is how she should be remembered, not for how she died, but for how powerfully she lived.